Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're lacing up our gloves, metaphorically speaking, for most of us, and getting into the ring intellectually. We're diving deep into a real classic, Jack Dempsey's championship fighting, explosive punching, and aggressive defense, published way back in 1950.
That's right. And for you listening, uh, settle into your corner because this deep dive is your shortcut to understanding the core principles of how to punch with real power and defend yourself effectively, all straight from the wisdom of a heavyweight champion. Whether you've ever, considered stepping into a ring or you're just fascinated by the physics and strategy behind combat, this is for you.
Exactly. Jack Dempsey wasn't just any champion. He held that coveted heavyweight title. And after he hung up his gloves, he looked back at the way boxing was being taught and felt, well, something was missing, a real understanding of fundamental punching power. So he put pen to paper and dissected his own techniques, sharing the insights he gained over a legendary career. Our mission today is to unearth the most crucial and maybe even surprising nuggets from Dempsey's work, the stuff that truly underpins a knockout punch and a smart defense.
And it's worth remembering, even if you never intend to throw a punch in anger, understanding these principles offers a fascinating look at the interplay of physics, strategy, and the human body in motion. It's really quite something.
Okay, let's get right into it. Dempsey kicks things off with a really vivid scenario. Imagine for a moment a baby falling from a fourth-floor window and unfortunately landing squarely on a burly truck driver's head. What's the likely outcome?
Yeah, it's grim. Knocked out truck driver, possibly even something far worse. What's fascinating here, and what Dempsey immediately highlights for you, is this. Even something as seemingly defenseless as a baby can deliver a devastating impact when its weight is accelerated by gravity. And his point to you is powerful. You already possess significantly more weight than a baby, and you don't need to fall out of a window to generate substantial force.
It's a startling analogy, right?
Yeah.
And he immediately brings in his own David and Goliath story, his fight against Jess Willard in Toledo. Willard was a genuine giant, standing 6'6" and weighing in at a massive 245 pounds.
Huge guy.
Dempsey, in comparison, was around 6 feet tall and 180 pounds. He even admitted that when he looked across the ring at Willard, he thought, geez, what a mountain I've got to blast down this time. He'd already earned the nickname Giant Killer, but Willard felt like a whole different beast.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for you, Dempsey's victory over the much larger Willard wasn't a triumph of brute strength. It was about the efficient and strategic use of his entire body weight and what he terms explosion.
Right, that explosion.
This concept, exploding body weight, becomes the absolute core of his teaching. He emphasizes that for you, whether in a formal match or a self-defense situation, effectively using your weight is your most crucial weapon.
And the aftermath of that Toledo fight was huge. Dempsey's incredibly aggressive and explosive style captivated the public, leading to those massive million-dollar greats.
Yeah, huge interest.
This surge in popularity, while good for the sport in some ways, also led to a commercialization of fighting. Dempsey felt that a lot of people jumped into teaching without a deep understanding of the real fundamentals of self-defense.
This raises a really important point for you to consider about the quality of instruction at the time. Dempsey was quite concerned that too many trainers were prioritizing winning amateur competitions on points, which often meant emphasizing speed and finesse over raw punching power.
Tapping away, basically.
Exactly. He felt that the true essence of effective fist fighting, that ability to deliver a decisive blow, was being lost.
Now, for you listening who might think, well, some people are just born with a knockout punch, Dempsey firmly disagrees. He states unequivocally that punchers are made, not born. He even admits that early in his career, he thought he was a natural himself. It wasn't until he retired and meticulously analyzed his own technique that he realized the immense amount of painstaking work with his brothers, trainers, and sparring partners that went into developing his power.
What's a particularly insightful takeaway for you here is Dempsey's explanation of why being a great fighter doesn't automatically make someone a great instructor. He explains that for highly skilled professionals, their movements become so deeply ingrained and instinctive.
Just happens.
It just happens, yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes incredibly difficult for them to consciously break down those movements into their individual components for a beginner. They struggle to articulate the how because it's become second nature. They might show you the whole complex chain of motion without being able to clearly explain each individual link.
So with that crucial foundation laid, Dempsey dives into the core principles of how to actually generate that powerful punch. And the very first key he introduces, which he emphasizes for you, is the falling step.
Right, the falling step.
Think back to that analogy of the boy on the sled. Gravity pulls him down the hill, right?
Yep.
But the slope itself redirects that downward force into forward motion. That, in essence, is the principle of the falling step.
Exactly. Gravity initiates the movement, and the step is how you, the puncher, learn to control and direct that weight forward. Dempsey provides a very specific step-by-step breakdown for you. He says to start with your left foot pointing towards your target, your right foot back and slightly to the right, your knees slightly bend, and your weight already shifted forward onto your left foot.
Okay.
You should be just lightly on the ball of your right foot.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting for you. Without any hesitation or winding up, you take a long, quick step forward with your left foot, consciously letting your body fall forward. Dempsey really stresses the importance of no cocking back or shifting.
Right. No wind up at all.
Your weight to the right foot beforehand, it's all about that sudden forward lurch, that almost exaggerated feeling of falling.
And that's where the seemingly passive right foot plays a vital role for you.
Yeah.
Even though your weight is moving forward, you don't completely lose your balance because the ball of your right foot acts like a springboard, giving you that forward thrust and helping you maintain control. Dempsey even aptly names it the trigger step.
The trigger step, yeah.
Because that initial movement of your left foot triggers the spring-like action of your right.
Now, once you've got your weight moving forward with that falling step, you need to channel that energy effectively, right? And for you, that's where the power line comes in. Dempsey describes it as an imaginary line running straight from either shoulder, down the length of your arm, to the fist knuckle of your little finger when your fist is clenched. He even says, and this is a great visual for you to look at your pinky with new respect, it's essentially the muzzle of your cannon.
Yeah, it's a good image. What's absolutely vital for you to grasp is that Dempsey insists all fully powered punches must be delivered precisely along this power line, and you must always aim with the second knuckle of your fist, that's the one next to your thumb.
The index finger knuckle.
Right. This ensures that the momentum of your entire body weight generated by that falling step you're initiating is transferred directly and efficiently through your arm to the exact point of impact.
And it's not just about the step and the power line for you. It's also about the way you actually deliver the punch. Dempsey talks about this concept of relaying and exploding your power.
Relaying and exploding.
The falling step initiates the transfer of your body weight. Then your arm, crucially, remains relaxed as it relays that weight along the power line. Finally, the explosion is that sudden, convulsive, grabbing snap as you clench your fist at the precise moment of impact. This rapid tensing of your arm and fist creates that essential follow-through, even in a short punch.
He uses a really effective analogy for you. Think of a rifle. The solid breech forces the explosion of the gunpowder to propel the bullet forward with maximum force.
Okay.
In a punch, your clenched fist is the bullet, and the combined power of your shifting body weight and those rapidly contracted muscles in your arm and shoulder is the explosive force behind it. This generates a long, straight jolt that isn't just a tap. It's a concentrated force capable of snapping your opponent's head back.
Wow. Now, for all of you right-handed listeners out there, Dempsey has a somewhat surprising point to make about the left jab. He actually argues that for a right-handed fighter, the left jab is often more important than the right.
Really? Why is that?
Because it's closer to the target, making it significantly harder for your opponent to avoid. A well-placed left jab can disrupt their balance, gauge distance, and crucially, set them up for that powerful right hand. Plus, as you've learned, that falling step almost guarantees you can put some real force behind even your lead left jolt.
That makes sense. Closer target, less time to react. Okay, moving on, Dempsey then delves into the concept of stance, which he defines for you as your typical posture or position when you're preparing to fight. He outlines three primary types. The upright stance,
More defensive.
which he characterizes as being more defensive but less conducive to generating significant power. The full crouch, which is primarily utilized for close quarters fighting and delivering hooks and uppercuts.
Yeah.
And the semi-crouch.
And Dempsey is very clear for you. The semi-crouch, the very stance you've been practicing for that falling step straight punch, is generally the most effective for overall fist fighting.
Why is that?
It provides you with enough forward weight to generate those explosive straight punches we've been discussing, while simultaneously allowing you to maintain good balance and enabling agile footwork, which is absolutely essential for controlling the distance in a fight.
Right? That balance of power and mobility. Following that, he introduces the basics of footwork for you. He talks about the forward and backward shuffle, and he makes an important distinction between stalking, which involves a deliberate forward shuffle to close distance and pressure your opponent, and shuffling backward to draw an opponent into initiating an attack.
Stalking versus drawing.
Exactly. He emphasizes the importance of a light, rhythmic, almost dancing step for achieving speed and maintaining balance. However, he also cautions you against relying solely on that dancing step if you have the opportunity to deliberately stalk or draw your opponent. Use the right tool for the job, basically.
Makes sense. Now let's discuss range for you. Dempsey defines it quite simply as the distance between your right fist and your opponent's chin when you are in a normal punching stance. He then breaks down range into 3 distinct classifications: long range, medium range, and short range.
Okay, 3 ranges. Long range, as the name suggests for you, is the optimal distance for those explosive, sharpshooting attacks utilizing the following step, your lead punches and counter punches.
The power punches.
The power punches, yeah. Medium range is closer, suitable for rapid-fire straight punches that derive their power primarily from the rotation of your shoulders, what he calls the shoulder whirl. These punches, while fast, generally aren't as explosively powerful as those that incorporate the full falling step.
So faster, but less pop.
Less pop, exactly. And finally, short range is when you're practically chest to chest with your opponent, where straight punches become less effective and you rely on hooks and uppercuts.
Okay. Even when you're delivering those medium-range shoulder whirl punches, Dempsey reminds you that the fundamental principles that power line and aiming with the second knuckle still absolutely apply for you.
So got to aim right.
Right. He notes that for body shots delivered with whirling straight punches at this range, your fist will typically land with the palm facing down. He also stresses to you the importance of first mastering that trigger step we talked about before you start experimenting with shoulder whirl punches to avoid developing incorrect and potentially less powerful stepping habits.
Definitely. Build the foundation first. Let's transition to hooks and uppercuts now. Dempsey is very precise in his definition of a hook for you. It's a blow powered by a whirling motion delivered with your elbow bent at a sharp angle. He makes a very strong distinction between a true hook and what he calls a swing, where your arm is largely extended.
Ah, the wild swing.
Yeah, he considers swings to be much less effective and significantly more dangerous for you to throw as they leave you more open.
Okay, so keep that elbow bent. He really emphasizes for you the inherent purity and explosiveness of a hook, precisely because that bent elbow effectively aligns your striking knuckles with the rotational force of your body weight as you whirl.
Makes sense. Direct force transfer.
He describes 2 primary types of hooks for you. Shovel hooks, which are those tight inside punches delivered at short range with your elbow kept close to your body, excellent for both body and head shots, and outside hooks where your elbow is positioned out or up.
The knockout potential.
Right, which have the potential to be devastating knockout blows. But Dempsey cautions you to keep them tight and controlled to prevent them from devolving into those dangerous swings.
Dempsey elaborates for you on the mechanics of shovel hooks, highlighting the subtle but crucial hip hunch that helps generate a surprising amount of power in those close quarters punches.
That little hip twist.
Yeah, that little twist. He also discusses various scenarios where you might find yourself in that short range to effectively employ shovel hooks, such as following up on straight punches when your opponent steps in close, or as a quick counter to their attack. He strongly reiterates his warning to you about letting those outside hooks become wide, telegraphed swings.
Don't loop them.
Don't loop them. He also briefly touches upon the corkscrew hook and variations that incorporate a pivoting step for added leverage.
And then he introduces a really fascinating technique for you, the sneaker. This is described as a somewhat overhanded right hook delivered from a clinch. And Dempsey considers it a surprise knockout weapon, particularly effective in a close quarters fist fight.
A clinch knockout. How does that work?
He explains the setup for you, how to establish a clinch to momentarily control your opponent's arms, and then the sudden sharp breakaway movement as you whip that right hook over their shoulder and into their jaw or temple. He vividly states that if executed correctly, they'll drop like a poleaxed steer.
Wow. Okay, the sneaker. Turning our attention to uppercuts, Dempsey defines them for you as straight upward blows, and he points out how inherently difficult they are for an opponent to block due to their rising trajectory from below, often inside their guarding arms.
Comes up underneath.
Exactly. He's careful to differentiate them for you from shovel hooks, noting that uppercuts lack that sideways sweeping motion.
Gotcha. He explains the mechanics of the uppercut to you, emphasizing how the hip on your striking side subtly fades back as you throw the punch, allowing your fist to come straight up in an almost scooping motion, quite similar to the swing of a golf club.
Interesting analogy.
He even provides a step-by-step guide for you on how to practice delivering uppercuts effectively to both the solar plexus and the chin. He notes that for a right-handed fighter in a normal stance, the right uppercut tends to be more explosively powerful than when your feet are positioned evenly.
Okay, stance matters there too.
Uh-huh. He also highlights their effectiveness at a very close range against opponents who are primarily defending against hooks. However, he cautions you against attempting to use uppercuts at long range, dismissing what he calls the bolo punch as being more showy than genuinely effective.
Right, the flashy stuff doesn't always work. Now, after spending considerable time detailing the art of punching, Dempsey makes a pivotal point for you. Punch ranks first.
Punch ranks first. Bold statement.
It is. He explains that he deliberately taught punching techniques before defensive maneuvers for a very crucial reason. He firmly believed that the most effective form of defense is an aggressive defense, one that is fundamentally based on your ability to counterpunch effectively.
So you can't defend well if you can't hit back.
That's his argument.
Yeah.
You simply cannot counter properly, he argues, if you don't first know how to punch with power and precision.
However, he's quick to clarify for you that this doesn't mean that offense alone is sufficient. You can't afford to be what he calls a clay pigeon, just standing there and absorbing blows.
Right, guys on defense.
But he directly addresses the common tendency among beginners to fixate solely on avoiding being hit. He warns you that this overemphasis on defense can actually lead to what he terms defense complexes, which can ultimately hinder the development of your own punching power and overall offensive capabilities. You get too scared to punch.
Yeah, becoming purely reactive. Okay, transitioning to the practical application of these principles, Dempsey delves into sparring and training for you. He underscores the absolute necessity of having a reliable sparmate with whom you can safely practice your defensive movements and, importantly, your counterpunching techniques.
Can't just shadowbox forever.
Nope. He strongly advises you to get a thorough medical checkup by a qualified doctor before you begin any form of sparring. Safety first.
Good advice. He then outlines a gradual and progressive approach to sparring for you. He suggests first focusing intently on perfecting your various punches against a live, albeit cooperative, target. Only after you've developed a degree of comfort and proficiency with your punches should you gradually introduce defensive drills, initially practicing them at a slow and controlled pace.
Build it up slowly.
Exactly. He provides practical guidelines for you on selecting a suitable spar mate, ideally someone who is of a similar weight and skill level, and on using appropriate safety gear, such as adequately padded, large training gloves, and a scrotum protector. Interestingly, he even advises against the common practice of bandaging your hands in the very early stages of training, unless you have expert guidance on how to do it correctly.
Okay. Dempsey then introduces fundamental blocking techniques for you to deal with straight punches aimed at your head specifically, using your open right hand to deflect a left jab.
The pair.
Yeah, the parry. And raising your left shoulder to protect against a right hand if you find yourself slightly out of position. He emphasizes the critical importance for you of keeping your eyes open and focused throughout any blocking maneuver. Don't flinch.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. He also explains how to effectively block straight punches directed towards your body by using your elbows, keeping them tucked in to protect your vital areas.
Protecting the ribs and solar plexus.
Right. He goes on to describe for you how to block hooks and swings, typically utilizing your forearm or an open hand to deflect the incoming blow. Crucially, he reiterates the importance of simultaneously preparing or even launching a counterpunch while you are blocking.
Block and hit.
Block and hit. He then introduces the concept of the glance-off for you, which he presents as a more dynamic and efficient defensive technique compared to a static block. This involves using a wedging action with your hands, arms, and shoulder to subtly deflect the incoming punch away from its intended target. He even mentions a specific backhand drill that you can practice on the light bag to help develop this glancing technique.
Like redirecting the force instead of stopping it cold.
Exactly. More efficient. Next up is slipping, which for you is all about evading punches by making subtle movements of your head to take it off the center line.
Head movement.
Yep. He describes how to slip straight lefts and rights, emphasizing the importance of immediately following up with a counterpunch while your opponent is still off balance, or exposed using a right cross against a predictable left jab is a prime example he gives for you.
Hit them while they're missing.
Perfect way to put it. He also explains the bob, which is a controlled downward movement of your upper body, almost like a slight bow, used to evade headshots. He even playfully refers to it as the apple bob.
Huh. He also covers for you the technique of stepping inside an opponent's hook and countering with a shovel hook to the body, which he describes as essentially the reverse of blocking a straight punch and then countering.
Getting inside the hook.
Right. Then he introduces the pull-away as a last resort defensive maneuver for you against straight punches and uppercuts, but he strongly cautions against attempting to use it against hooks or swings, as it can leave you dangerously exposed.
So pull back from straights, not hooks.
Correct. He specifically warns you against the common but incorrect reaction of rolling your head backward when you are hit with a straight punch. Bad habit. He also briefly mentions the more advanced tactics of feinting and drawing your opponent using a double shift of your body weight.
Getting into the mind games. Turning to the crucial element of training itself, Dempsey states for you that it has two primary and equally important objectives. Firstly, to rigorously condition your body to withstand the demands of fighting.
Stamina and toughness.
And secondly, to continuously refine and improve your technical skills. He emphasizes unequivocally that sparring is absolutely irreplaceable for achieving both of these goals. It gets your muscles accustomed to those sudden, violent, and often unpredictable movements that characterize a real fight.
You can't simulate that perfectly any other way.
Nope. He further elaborates for you on why fighting is so physically exhausting and why regular sparring is therefore so vital for developing the necessary stamina and conditioning. He also highlights the significant roles of shadowboxing and various forms of bag punching as supplementary but still essential exercises in your training regimen.
Still got to do the bag work and shadowboxing.
Absolutely. He even provides a sample gymnasium training schedule for you, suggesting a breakdown of time allocated to shadowboxing, sparring, work on the heavy bag and light bag, rope skipping, and calisthenics, along with recommended durations for rounds and rest periods.
He discusses in detail for you the specific benefits of working with both the heavy bag and the light bag for developing your punching muscles and overall power.
Heavy bag for power, light bag for speed and timing.
Generally, yeah. He outlines specific drills you can perform on each, including that straight and backhand drill on the light bag, which is particularly useful for developing those whirling punches and practicing your glancing blocks. And then introduces other key conditioning exercises for you, such as road work, running, rope skipping, stressing the importance of proper technique.
Not just jumping around.
Right, there's a technique to it. And calisthenics, including specific bending exercises for your stomach muscles and the neck bridge for strengthening your neck. Interestingly, he advises against heavy weightlifting for fighters.
Why no heavy weights? Worried about getting muscle bound.
Seems to be the implication, yeah. Slowing down, maybe losing flexibility.
Yeah.
He also suggests simple but effective hand strengthening exercises for you, such as regularly squeezing a rubber ball.
Building that grip strength for the fist explosion.
Exactly. He briefly mentions the use of a medicine ball for hardening your stomach muscles, although he recommends this primarily for more advanced trainees. Finally, he underscores for you the critical importance of establishing and adhering to a regular training and daily schedule, which should include a well-balanced diet and sufficient sleep, particularly for those who are amateur fighters.
The whole lifestyle commitment.
Yeah, totally. He even provides sample daily schedules and general dietary recommendations. He also shares some of his own personal habits regarding smoking and drinking, and he advises you to consult with a doctor to determine your ideal fighting weight based on your individual build and physique. He reassures you that while optimal physical conditioning is beneficial, a solid understanding of the fundamental techniques will be effective for you regardless of whether you possess an ideal physique.
Good to know. Okay, our final topic for you is how to watch a fight. Dempsey presents boxing as an absolutely perfect spectator sport and encourages you to actively engage with it beyond just passively observing the action in the ring.
Don't just watch, understand.
Right. He suggests taking the time to learn about the fighters beforehand, their past records, their characteristic fighting styles, and even the pre-fight betting odds. Do your homework.
He emphasizes for you the importance of watching both fighters equally intently, rather than just focusing on the one you might be personally rooting for, in order to develop a truly accurate assessment of the unfolding fight.
Be objective.
Be objective. He provides a practical guide for you on what specific elements to observe: their overall physical appearance and condition, their individual fighting styles and strategies, who appears to be dictating the pace and forcing the action,
Generalship.
the types of punches each fighter is utilizing, the effectiveness of their jab and hook, their willingness to engage in exchanges, the speed and power evident in those exchanges, and any visible damage sustained by either fighter, such as swelling, cuts, or bleeding.
He clarifies for you the distinction between a fighter being rocked, which might manifest as a momentary daze or slight unsteadiness, and being staggered, which is a more significant loss of balance, often requiring the fighter to take extra steps to remain upright.
Rocked versus staggered. Important difference.
Very. He also explains what telltale signs to look for that indicate a fighter is genuinely hurt. He describes knockdowns and the referee's subsequent count, as well as the referee's crucial authority to stop a fight if they deem a fighter unable to continue safely, a situation known as a technical knockout or TKO.
The ref's got to protect the fighters.
Absolutely. He also points out the various illegal tactics, commonly referred to as fouls, and briefly outlines the general rules and consequences associated with them.
Finally, he explains for you the different ways a winner is determined in a boxing match if there isn't a knockout or a disqualification, primarily through the scoring of the referee and the ringside judges, using either a point-per-round system, a total point system accumulated over the entire fight, or a combination of both.
The scoring systems.
Right. He lists the key factors that ring officials typically consider when scoring each round, such as effective aggression, room generalship, defense, and clean punching. He strongly encourages you, the listener, to actively participate by keeping your own score sheet using a simple round-by-round system.
Score to yourself.
Yes, score it yourself. Perhaps even making brief notes on significant events like knockdowns or cuts as a way to significantly enhance your understanding and enjoyment of the sport. He even provides a basic example of what a scorecard might look like.
So to bring it all together for you, we've journeyed through Dempsey's core principles. The immense and often underestimated power of effectively exploding your body weight into a punch. The crucial mechanics of the falling step and the alignment of your body along that vital power line.
That pinky knuckle.
Yeah, the pinky knuckle. The significance of that final explosive clenching of your fist at impact, and the foundational concept that the most reliable defense is one that is actively rooted in a strong and aggressive offensive capability.
And for you, our listener, even if you never have any intention of throwing a punch in anger or stepping into a boxing ring, understanding these fundamental principles offers a really fascinating glimpse into the physics, the strategy, and even the art that underlies the science of combat. It's pretty cool stuff.
It really is. This leads us to a final thought-provoking question for you. Consider how these core principles of efficiently generating and strategically channeling force and that essential balance between proactive offense and sound defense might actually be applicable and insightful in various other areas of your life, far beyond the confines of the boxing ring.
Absolutely. That idea of generating momentum and directing it effectively, it applies everywhere. If this deep dive into Jack Dempsey's wisdom has sparked your curiosity, we wholeheartedly recommend that you explore his book, Championship Fighting, or delve into other reputable resources on the science and techniques of boxing and self-defense. It truly is a wealth of knowledge and offers a unique perspective on human movement and power.
Another deep dive complete, bringing you closer to understanding the fundamental forces that shape our world, one insightful exploration at a time.